Marathons are funny things, and I find the origin of the marathon race to be pretty fascinating. It's a legend, the legend of Marathon, that Philippides was a Greek messenger taking part in the Battle of Marathon, which was Greece was defending against an attack from the Persians. Well, the Greeks were dominating, and they had basically won the battle when Philippides, the Greek messenger, noticed that the Persian ships started to head out towards Athens. And he interpreted that as the Persians going to the city to claim that they had won the battle, which was false. So Philippides decided to run all the way from Marathon to Athens, which is about 25 miles, and to let them know that it's not true, that Greece had won. So he's running, then the story goes that he drops his weapons and he starts to take off his battle array and part of his clothes as he's running to lighten his load to get there as quickly as possible, and he bursts into the building where all the leaders were, and he exclaims in his native Greek, "Neni kekamen," which means "we have won." And then from exhaustion, he dies on the spot. That's why I don't run marathons. But the Christian life, St. Paul says he says at the end of his life, he says, "I have run the race, I've run the course, I've completed the race." But what is our race as Christians? We run from a place of victory. There's no question about whether we win or lose. Jesus has won. Today's Feast of the Ascension, Jesus goes up after spending 50 days with his apostles, 40 days, sorry. And 40 days is always a time of preparation. In biblical imagery, 40 days means preparation. Jesus was preparing his apostles, and then he ascends into heaven. In those 40 days after his resurrection, he has shown that he did die, but now he's alive. He has his scars to show that this is the same body that was killed that is now glorified, and that body goes up to heaven. So, for one, the ascension is not Jesus leaving us. It's Jesus, first of all, taking our human nature to heaven, to make it very clear that we belong with him. But I like to think that in this Feast of the Ascension, our protagonist is the Father. Jesus spent his whole life on earth saying things like, "I only do what the Father asks of me. And I only say what the Father tells me to say." On earth, Jesus reveals the heart of his Father. What's in his Father's heart for us? Well, you see it in Jesus. That he ran all the way to his death just to announce, "My Father's love conquers." The apostles love to say that it was God the Father who raised Jesus from the dead. Not to say that Jesus isn't God, participating fully in God's infinite divine nature, but that here we see in his resurrection what God the Father desires for us, that we will not be conquered by death. And in the ascension we see that God the Father desires us to be lifted up to heaven. And Jesus sits now at the right hand of the Father, governing over the world that the Father entrusted to him. So Jesus proclaims to us forever, "Neni kekamen," we have won. In society, throws all kinds of signs and reasons for us to worry and think that maybe we haven't won. Maybe we're losing. But friends, the Father's love for us is unshakable, and He has established a kingdom of love. In battle, we think of banners, the standards that were carried in battle, and you stand by your flag, your banner, and that's the banner that you're defending. Well, in the battle on this earth, as we await the final establishment of the heavenly kingdom forever, in our resurrection, we stand underneath the banner of God. What does that look like? The Song of Songs says, "His banner over me is love." Which I can't help but smile because of the children's Bible song, if anyone remembers that. "His banner over me is love." It's so cute. But that is the reality. In this war zone that we live in, where there's such division within and without the church, that there's so much injustice, there's still more slavery today than there ever has been. On this very street, we see brokenness. But we stand by His banner, and His banner over us is love. So we're called to announce that victory. And now that Jesus has ascended, He sits at the right hand of the Father, and He says that He sends us the promise of His Father upon us. What's this promise He wants to send upon us? The Holy Spirit, which we celebrate at Pentecost a week from now. A week from now, we celebrate the coming of the Holy Spirit upon the apostles. But friends, that happened a long time ago, to make it very clear that you and I, by the sacraments of baptism, confirmation, the Eucharist, renewal in the sacrament of confession, in those great sacraments we receive that same Holy Spirit. We have been marked by Him. So, in these days leading up to Pentecost, I invite you to make a novena to the Holy Spirit. In other words, every day, beg the Lord to unleash that Holy Spirit that He has already given you. Beg Him to help you see what you need to let go of, attachments, things that keep you stifling the Holy Spirit, keep you from letting Him do whatever He wants. Like Jesus, I only do what the Father says. I only say what He tells me to say. To live that way is to allow the Holy Spirit to work, and what He's going to do in you, and has already begun, is to shine His light, His warmth in this dark place, to be a witness to His conquering love, and to live and experience the gift of hope at all times. That will make you into the beacon that this world needs. And you're even just the way you live will be proclaiming to all around you, "Neni kekamen, we have won."